Welcome back to Recreational Garage. We are back at the front suspension here, trying to get the spacers on these A-arms. So we've got some spacers here that I was able to order from McMaster-Carr. That's what we're going to start off with. I know at least this back spacer is probably going to need at least a 1/16 of an inch taken off of it, but we'll start off in the front and then work our way towards the back on these and just see how it's looking. And then we'll keep working on front suspension from there. Anyway, let's get to it and see what we can get done. All right, we got our spacers all figured out. We've got this small one here. This ended up being much closer to about 1/8 of an inch. This one stayed with the 1.5 inches that we ordered. 1.5 inches here, and then this one's closer to 5/8 of an inch. They do match side to side. They did work pretty well. So we can tighten all these up, reassemble this assembly, but this is looking good with these Racecraft arms in here. I'm excited to get it going to the next step. Anyway, let's keep going. All right, we made some great progress this week. We officially have front suspension on the Mustang here. Plus we got the Racecraft A-arms all hooked up and they are looking good. We did not have quite the right tools to be modifying the spacers the way we did, but we got it done. So looking really good. I still have to tighten everything down, torque everything up, adjust everything. You know, we'll have to set ride height once we have weight in the car, all that. But it's looking great. Next week we'll work on brakes and brake lines and everything like that. So anyway, thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.